Okay, let's start our session on macro implications of AI, digitalization, and the green transition. And I find this topic is very relevant for Mongolia, as Mongolia is a small developing country with limited labor resources. And Mongolia is also very open to technological advancement and innovation and quick to adopt it. And at the same time, Mongolia is abundant of renewable energy resources and also committed to green transition. However, Mongolia still earns large share of its revenues from exporting coals. So let's invite our speakers to the stage. So I'm confident that we will have very productive and offer valuable insights thanks to our esteemed panel of speakers. So let's invite our speakers to the stage. Ms. Asya Kostanyan, a chief economist of the Better Policy Project. And let's invite Mr. Raekwon Chung, a board member of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation for a Better Future. And Ms. Matilda Dimovska, UNDP's resident representative in Mongolia. Additionally, we have another speaker joining us online, Mr. Sopnendu Mohanty, Group Chief Executive Officer of the Global Finance and Technology Network. So let me introduce briefly the speakers, and let's start with Asya Kostanyan. She's a senior economist at Saddle Point Research with expertise in macroeconomic modeling, monetary and fiscal policy, and applied economic research. She has contributed to the development of policy frameworks, the creation of surveillance tools, and the design and application of modeling approaches used by central banks and other policy-making institutions. Her work also includes providing consulting and training to institutions on model development, implementation of new policy analysis tools, and applications of modern approaches to macroeconomic and policy analysis. As part of this, she regularly leads training courses in macroeconomics, monetary policy, and modeling. Previously, she served as a short-term expert at the IMF and as a research economist at the Central Bank of Armenia. Her work has included designing monetary and fiscal policy models and co-developing a central bank transparency index. So let me introduce Ms. Matilda Dimovska. She assumed the role of UNDP resident representative in Mongolia as September 4th, 2023. Prior to this, she served as UNDP resident representative in the Republic of Uzbekistan from 2019 to 2023. During 2016 to 2019, she led the country office support team at UNDP Istanbul Regional Hub for Europe and the CIS as of July 2016, and in that capacity, she supported country and project management offices in the region. She also served as Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP in Turkey, Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP in Moldova, and Assistant Resident Representative in Georgia. Let me introduce Mr. Raekwon Chung. He is a board member of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation for a Better Future and serves as chairman of the International Award Committee for the Global Energy Prize. He is also the founding director of the New Climate Innovation Center at Tashkent State University of Economics. He served as a principal advisor on climate change to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and received a personal copy of the IPCC Nobel Peace Prize in 2007. His career includes significant roles such as Director for Environment and Development at UN SCAP and Director General for International Economic Affairs at Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we'll start with kick-off remarks by each of our speakers, and each speaker will have 10 minutes. And then I'll ask following questions from panelists, and after that, I'll open the floor for the audience for Q&A. Mr. Mohanty, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Online. Sorry. Now, let me introduce our online participant, Mr. Mohanty. He's a Group Chief Executive Officer of the Global Finance Technology Network, a global advisory investment firm focused on building and scaling fintech ecosystems across emerging markets. He leads the organization's strategic direction across its core areas of forums, advisory services, digital platforms, and capital investments. Prior to this role, he served as the Chief FinTech Officer at the Monetary Authority of Singapore, where he played a key role in transforming Singapore into a global hub for financial innovation. His work included launching the Singapore FinTech Festival, fostering digital payment systems, and pioneering regulatory sandboxes for financial technology solutions. With over 2 decades of experience across public and private sectors, including leadership roles at Citigroup, Mr. Mohanty has been an influential voice in shaping the global fintech agenda. Okay, so let me start with Ms. Asya Kostanyan. Can you show the presentation?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here and speak here. And also, thank you, everyone, for great talks today. All the talks were amazing. So, okay. Okay, my presentation is called Shifting Gears from Burnout to Balance in the Age of AI. Today I'm mostly going to talk about the Central Bank of Armenia. As you know, Armenia is a small open economy, and we at the Better Policy Project have been working with the Central Bank of Armenia for the past few years to design and implement a new framework, which we call FPAS Mark II. So the central bankers know what is FPAS. It's the Forecasting Policy Analysis System that was introduced in 1990s. And after the COVID-related shocks, we realized that it is time to move to the new generation of the FPAS, and we called it FPAS Mark II. So in the first part of my talk, I will be elaborating more how we achieved higher productivity in the FPAS Mark II. And by saying that, I also mean higher levels of transparency, better work-life balance, and so on. And how we use AI at the training of the central bank economists. And the last part, I'm going to talk about this new tool that we have been thinking about recently that's going to be tailored specifically to the central banks and the central bank needs. Oh, okay, so this slide, it doesn't look very good. It shouldn't look like this, but basically this is talking about what is FPAS Mark II. So in the beginning of the conference, Governor talked about the importance of different scenarios. So basically that is exactly what FPAS Mark II is about. So after the COVID shock, we realized that it is becoming even more and more difficult to predict. And for the central bank, it is even more and more difficult to try to communicate its policy and to forward guidance through one baseline scenario. And that it is necessary to have more than one scenario, and it is necessary to teach the markets, the financial markets, as well as the general public, how the central bank thinks, and also how the central bank thinks about the risks, what it will be doing if these risks materialize, instead of just saying that there is going to be one baseline scenario, and they put all their belief in that one scenario. So in the FPAS Mark II scenario, we have so-called case A, case B scenarios. The case A is the one where the central bank explains the risks associated with the scenario where the rates are higher than the market expects. And in the case B, it's the opposite. So the scenario where the central bank explains the risks related to the case where the rates are lower than the market expectations. So this framework was officially implemented in 2024, January 2024, and there was a big conference that we started, and we had multiple esteemed guests like Lawrence Summers, Charles Goodhart, and so on, who supported this approach, and now more and more central banks start to get interested and try to implement. And let me just mention that at the Central Bank of Armenia, we didn't implement it immediately, but we had a year of, we call it the shadow projection. So alongside the old framework, we were developing this new framework in the background, and when we were ready, we launched it. And one of the most important aspects is the transparency. So if you look at the transparency indexes, the different ones, you will see that the Central Bank of Armenia's transparency has increased so much because we implemented these new tools. For example, there was one a tool that we liked a lot from the Czech National Bank, which is the conference with the market analysts. So that is one of the things that the central bank introduced, and that has been very successful because, for example, when we look at the questions asked earlier by the journalists or the market analysts, and now the quality of the questions has really improved. So we are very happy about it because we noticed that the, let's say, the financial literacy has actually improved. Another very important aspect of FPAS Mark II is the continuous training and learning. So all this we implemented even before we started using AI. So what we did, we introduced this global forecasting school. That's the this platform that we created for the central bankers who just moved to the central banks from universities, or they have been there for a long time, it doesn't matter. But it has a completely different approach. So we noticed that not just at the Central Bank of Armenia, but at a lot of central banks, there is this tendency of people who work there to have not to have a lot of motivation to be the best of the best in the world. So there is some stagnation happening a lot of times. And also the one thing that we noticed is the problem of poor mentoring, for example, or superficial training. So at the Global Forecasting School, the training is organized in a way that everybody is committed to excellence. So we have meetings with our students every day. We have this last point, global engagement. Every week we have a seminar with internationally known economists where our students, the central bankers, present their work or what have been happening recently, their case A, case B scenarios, and so on. And most of these seminars are available on online on the YouTube channel. So this is also one way of being transparent. And also, very important thing is that we in FPAS Mark II framework, there has been a lot of changes in the hierarchical system, not just in learning. So the management is very directly involved in the thing, as well as in the policy rounds. The board is actively involved in the process and is involved with the forecasters and the monetary policy department during the round. So recently, when we started using the AI, we realized that we can use it in a few aspects of the training. So here are a few of them. So when these young economists, they start working at the central bank, from the university, there are usually a few skills that we need to develop. For example, the first one, speech and development skills. So for that, we use the AIs. For example, in this case, we use 11 labs. So the economists, the students, they do a presentation, then we transcribe it, then we improve it. It can be improved, so the feedback mechanism again, so the mentor will look at it, then we will also use AI to improve it, and then the student will do the speech again, and then again and again, until it is perfect. And then we use also AI for the debugging and coding. So if before it took us a lot of time to find an error, a problem in the code, now with the AI it is much easier. So it's very productive, and we realized it helped us a lot. And the last one, reporting. So we use AI to facilitate the reporting thing. So that we have a few documents that we publish every month, and
сар болгон одоо нийтэлж байдаг. Үүний нэг нь бол дэлхийн эдийн засгийн эрсдлийн одоо үнэлгээг бол зарим манай оюутнууд бол боловсруулан нийтэлдэг юм байна. За үүнийг боловсруулах.
So they use the AI to for example, we have chart standards, so they use the AI to create those charts, as well as to clean the text and so on. And finally, let me talk about this new tool that we are developing with trilateral research. So it's globally known global leader of the ethical AI. So why ethical? Because actually in the world there is a lot of irresponsible and unethical use of AI. So what we are propagating is safe, secure and ethical use of AI. So we are now working on this first version of this AI tool. We are estimating that the first trial version will be released on September 1st. And what is it going to be? So it's going to be fully secure, and offline. It is going to be an AI product trained specifically for the central bankers on the central bank material. And what feature it's going to have? It's going to have voice-to-text feature. For example, we can say something and it will translate it to a text and it will clean it. It will have these chart standards. We actually worked a lot to create beautiful and informative charts, and these standards are now implemented at the Central Bank of Armenia. If you open the monetary policy report, it's you can see that the quality of charts has really improved, because we spent actually a lot of time, some seminars and so on, to come up with really good standards. And finally, it's going to have smart reporting support. So with the drafting, with the edits, as well as it will allow to publish these reports in different formats, including PDF, HTML, and it will also have the option of creating summaries of the documents up to 90 seconds, 60, 90 seconds. So far, these are the features that we are working on. And if you are interested in trying this new version when it comes out, please feel free to email me or one of my colleagues. So we will be happy to provide you the product. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Asya. Now let's turn to Ms. Matilda Dimovska. Please share your thoughts.
Sembeno, Udridmend. Hello to everyone. You know, I was a bit of a worried. I don't have a fancy presentation, and I speak in front of the monetary policy makers, economists, etc., and I speak about human development and how that relates. And I think it relates very much. And I'm very grateful that I'm invited to speak, to be part of this discussion, and to have, in fact, it's impressive to have this forward-looking discussion, how to prepare the economies, the countries for the shifts, for the major changes that are happening globally, digital, artificial intelligence, and greens. And shifts that happen with such a scale, global scale, but profoundly, deeply with a human impact. And therefore, what we in United Nations Development Program we use as a compass to navigate these changes is the human development. And I come from the organization that has pioneered human development time ago. 30 years ago, we championed the concept of human development. We argued that the progress shall not be measured only by economy itself. The people, we want to have a decent standard of living, yes, but we also want to have a healthy and long life. We also want to be educated properly. Lately we are even more ambitious. We want to have a healthy environment, and we want our voices to be heard. And that means we want to have a meaningful life and to have opportunity, ability to live the life that we value. And that's human development, the totality of the ambition of the people. Now, over the past 30 years, we have been issuing global, regional, the country-level human development reports that analyze how the progress of the humanity of the countries gets across. Human Development Index is the one that captures all of that. Over the 35 reports global have been issued. This year we just released that report, and I will speak about it a bit because it's important to know where the world is at the moment, but also because it was addressing the topic of artificial intelligence. It dwelt a bit of more into the topic of artificial intelligence. And it was the second in the one that report that was looking into the layers of uncertainty that the world is facing. The first was about the climate change, this one about the artificial intelligence. So we looked how what is the difference now, how the artificial intelligence differs from the digitalization that was already happening, how it can enhance or weaken the human agency. And we understood that it is important the context and the choices that we make now. Who produces the artificial intelligence and what's the purpose of the artificial intelligence is extremely important and will have a profound impact further. So we came with 3 broad recommendations for globally that would help us to shift the question. The narrative at the moment, it mainly is when will the artificial intelligence outperform the humanity? We argue that it is good, it is important to shift the question and to ask it how the artificial intelligence can advance the human potential, how it can work for us. A number of issues matters. First, building a complementarity economy, economy that encourages the people and the artificial intelligence to collaborate, boost the productivity. Second, innovation with the creative.
За инновацийг нэвтрүүлэхдээ ямар зорилготой байна гэж.
Creativity of the humans, but to enhance it. And then the third, skills. Investing in the right skills and support of the people. Personalized learning, personalized services, health services to start with, that are extremely important. And only that way that the vision can be shifted and the narrative for the humanity can change. Now, where the world stands in terms of the Human Development Index, in fact. Few years ago, we hoped that we were projecting that by 2030, the world will be in the category of high human development. But then last year, we projected that that will not happen because of the digression that we saw because of the COVID. And we thought we will be back for a number of years, that will be delayed. Now, this year, because of the number of disruptions that are happening, we see that the progress is delayed for a number of decades, not years. So we see the smallest increase in human development as of the time that it is being measured, and that it is combined with increased inequalities between the countries. With a triple squeeze, reasons why. Triple squeeze of the decreasing jobless increasing, in fact, the jobless industrialization, worsening debt crisis, and the trade tensions that we live in. So in that context, where Mongolia is and how Mongolia, first in the Human Development Index. Mongolia is still in the high Human Development Index, it progressed very well over the past 30 years. It progressed 26% in the human development. Other countries in the region progressed more, but we cannot compare that. We saw in terms of the years of living, almost 13 years of lives increase, 3 years of schooling increase, 150% of increase in the GDP per capita. So these are important indicators. But the development model of Mongolia is under stressed with the climate shocks that impact very much the livelihood of the 1/3 of the population and shift them to migrate to the urban cities, where the infrastructure is even more, they bring a pressure even higher to the infrastructure, already pressured. The second shock or pressure of the more development model being the economic concentration in mining, not only the vulnerability to the market trends that we've heard just now, but also because of the distribution or lack of the distribution, which leads to the other 2 or 3. The region, persistent inequalities and persistent higher level of poverty and urban-rural disparities. These are the 4 burdens of the development model. So the question is how to use these shifts as an opportunity and to change it. And we looked into that, and we came with a number of recommendations when it comes to the artificial intelligence. There is a momentum in Mongolia for the artificial intelligence. The country has a clear understanding and a vision of how to progress. We supported articulation of artificial intelligence strategies, but also there is a clear understanding of where the gaps are. We do have a capacity gap, skills. There is also, the other one is the unequal access to the infrastructure, particularly in the rural areas, which is particularly important for a country of this size. And then absence of what you were saying about absence of a clear ethical and regulatory frameworks that will protect the integrity of the artificial application of the artificial intelligence. So the question is how to use the artificial, and there are a lot of things. There is also a very positive momentum, a vibrant private sector, in fact, at the par of its peers in the region, that can provide a solution for these challenges, for these stresses of the development model of Mongolia. But let me stop here. I guess I spoke too much. Thank you, Bella.
Thank you.
За маш их
Let me turn to
одоо
Mr. Mohanty.
ноён Mohanty
Can you share your thoughts?
микрофоныг шилжүүлээ. Та санал бодлоо бол.
Sure. Thank you. I'm going to keep it very short, given I'm from online. Not be easier for everybody to engage with me. Well, I look at AI, given my financial sector background, in very three distinct bucket. Now, just last 2 months, if you look at the macro data on tech sector alone, almost 35,000 jobs have been culled just due to AI. So if one thing is certain, we all have to accept AI is going to have huge impact on the job market, because the way AIs are designed, it's designed to replicate every possible process human being is doing today in the economic activity, and it'll get automated and get better as time passes. I think that's the reality we have to deal with. Now the question is, what can we do with that impact on the macro state in terms of economic impact due to AI? Now, in many countries, and given an example of the financial sector, the regulators and the policymakers have a clear role here. Now, in financial sector, almost 50 plus countries regulators have intervened in the market with some amount of regulatory stance on how do companies deploy AI. I'll give an example right from Singapore. The the MAS asked all the banks, this is pre-Gen AI, to look at the implication of a principle of fairness, ethics, accountability, and transparency when deploying AI. Now that in a way puts a friction in the way AI is deployed by the sector, and by putting that policy intervention, there will be some amount of rationalization in way AI being deployed in the market, in the sector, because end of the day, AI is a set of program, and for the AI to be fair, accountable, and ethical in its outcome and transparent, you need another set of code to make it work, and it's not an easy thing to do. So there'll be a whole set of body of work which will start getting created to ensure that the AI itself is being deployed in the market based on the principles of fairness, ethics, accountability, and transparency, that perhaps will start creating an alternate set of jobs just to manage, govern the deployment of AI in different sectors. I'm just extrapolating that similar policy intervention will come to different sectors to ensure the AI deployment are adhering to these principles of ethics and accountability and transparency and being fair. Now, if you look at if you want to define the role of AI, digitalization, and the green transition as one single block, what is the real issue with the real impact to the industrial processes we have today? The first impact and change all of us are going to see in this sector is the user experience or the consumer experience of how we interact with the economic activity given through services and different products we interact with. And AI is going to change the way we design, consume, and interact with the market, because AI has got no form. It is the way AIs are designed is a multi-human model interaction, which means you and me can talk to the systems and processes. It will automatically generate what we're asking it to do, and also be a little more one step ahead in terms of delivering value in services. So you will see a significant shift in the user experience, on the consumer experience, with different systems and processes in our economic activity. Where does the digital transformation make a change? It will change the form factor of the products and services we consume. What it means sector in a macro term, what it means that there's a role intermediaries play today in different sector, ensuring that the buyers and seller are buying products, are selling product, in a certain governance. Now, with the digital transformation, I'm going to extend to one step further the role of tokenization, which I know is not part of this topic. When tokenization comes as the next level of digital transformation, you will see a complete destruction of the intermediaries in between, which play a role of governance and a broker or honest broker in the processes, and that those will be the kind of jobs which will vanish because tokenization in the form of digital transformation will make the two-party exchanging services and product in a very different construct. And the last piece to that design change will be the green transition, because every product and services which we will see in the future will have an expectation both from a policy standpoint and from an outcome standpoint. The transition to the net zero expectation we have by 2050. So all this system changes, the impact of technology and the impact of the design change happening due to the availability of this new technology will have a significant impact on the design of the economic systems, design of consumer products and services. Hence, you will see in a short run to mid run a huge loss of jobs in the job market. Now, that will directly impact many countries if you bucket them by low income, middle income, and high income countries. Definitely, the lower income countries will see the first brunt of the impact of this technology. But having said that, there is a nuanced view to this, because for some reason, if you take the digital public infrastructure in a strange way, the most advanced digital public infrastructure is not in the developed economies. Many of the digital public infrastructure is actually coming in emerging market. For example, India with the market, with the Aadhaar. Singapore, we see some of this digital infrastructure. Many Asian market around us have a lot of digital public infrastructure. And with the structure of DPI in the market, some of the job impact may not be translating to that much negativity what we see in the market in terms of the job losses. So there could be a cushion impact of the job market, because countries having a good digital public infrastructure may find a way to move jobs from the disrupted sector to the new sector in an easy transition way. Lastly, there is a role we have to play in getting the future talent pipeline ready for this economy, because it is quite evident that the current curriculums, the current courses, the current talent development program are just not ready for the future change in the tech infrastructure of digital economy. So we got to urgently look at how do we upskill people and upskill existing workforce as an upskilling strategy, and creating the new talent pipeline to be part of this new economy, and the way we teach people the kind of tools they're going to deal with, the kind of expectation that we have from the new workforce is quite different what we have today. For example, I'll take a simple example, coding. We don't expect the future, a lot of coders are required because the AI is going to generate a lot of the code. But what we may require, people who can read this code and maintain and manage and make it more efficient. So there'll be a change in where we look at upskilling people in this sector as we look forward. So to me, upskilling will be one of the key factor in managing the risk of job loss as you look at the future of economy being disrupted for AI, digital transformation, and the green transition. I think that's for my short opening remark for this session.
Thank you. And now let me turn to Mr. Raekwon Chung for his opening remark.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'm very happy to be back to Mongolia. I visited Mongolia several times when I was a director at the UNDP in Bangkok. And I appreciate the kind invitation from the Central Bank of Mongolia, and also my best old friend Mark Uzan, and thanks for invitation. And since my background is a little bit different from many of the experts here, I was originally a diplomat, turned into an environmentalist when I was engaged in climate negotiation as a Korean diplomat. I was a little bit frustrated, only speaking for Korean national interest, and I was more interested in how can I speak for the global interest rather than for Korean country interest. So that's why I applied for the position in the UN, UNESCO in Bangkok, and I was a director there. The first thing I did as a director was to propose green growth paradigm, which means I had an idea that when I was negotiating for climate change, every year we are having climate negotiation, every year, the COP. Everybody, the diplomats are fighting under the assumption that climate change is a burden, cost, and the pain. And everybody is trying to avoid shifting the burden to somebody else. That was the reason why they are fighting overnight, all through the night. So I was really fed up about that. Then how can I turn it around? Only way we can turn it around is that we have to change the perception that climate is a cost and burden into opportunity. Climate can be an opportunity for economic growth and job creation, unless we don't change this perception. I didn't think that we could change our dilemma. So, can you? Yeah. So I try to present climate. So initially, when I was trying to persuade policymakers that climate change is an opportunity, then the first question I had was, we don't have money and technology. All developing countries are saying that. We don't have enough money and technology. So what can you, like Mongolia. So it's a dilemma. Is there a country like the Mongolia can really pursue green growth or green transition? Actually the same idea, same thing. Then my answer was, yes, there is something even more important than money and technology. What is it? It is policy. Policy is more powerful. Without proper policy, money and technology will not flow for renewable energy investment. We have enough money around in Wall Street. There's tons of money there. The reason is, the problem is not money and technology. The problem is why this money is not going for renewable energy. They're only going for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, right? So then the answer is, the main issue is, how can we internalize carbon price into our production and consumption? If we can internalize a carbon price into our production and the consumption, the market price, then the renewable energy can generate revenue and profit. And the renewable energy projects can be bankable. Why renewable energy projects are not bankable? Because the price is not right. Why the price is not right? Because we don't internalize a carbon price into our fossil energy. So then the question is, if we internalize a carbon price, it will have a huge pain and a huge burden. Then the question is, can you do that without creating burden and damage on our economy? So I was looking into it, and the answer is, yes, there are several gradual steps we can do. Many gradual steps we can do. I don't have enough time to go about this, but like for example, we have the concept of SCC, social cost of carbon. So we can internalize SCC into major investment decisions so that we can encourage green investment. So there are many ways of doing it. So this is one idea. But this kind of another one very important idea for internalization of carbon pricing is, we should reform our tax system. Our tax is based on income. Why don't you change it to based on carbon emission? We can charge tax based on carbon emission rather than income tax. So the idea is, why don't you reduce income tax and increase carbon tax gradually? many European countries already did it. Germany did it. So this is one idea. We call it ecological tax reform. I still believe ecological tax reform is something that central bank and many financial institutions should look into, because there is a idea that with ecological tax reform we can have double dividend. Double dividend meaning that we can reduce CO2 emission, at the same time we can increase economic growth and job creation. So this is a double dividend. We can have two goals at the same time. So this is one thing. But another very important point I would like to emphasize is that this kind of internalization of carbon pricing into the market price cannot be done unless consumers are ready to accept it. If the consumers are not accepting this kind of carbon pricing into the market price of the product they are buying, it is impossible. Without green consumer, there will be no green transition. Then how can we encouraging green consumer? Recently I'm proposing me first idea and also PDC. PDC is a personally determined contribution. What I mean by why I propose PDC is because the Paris Climate Agreement is based on NDC. NDC is a nationally determined contribution. It's a top-down. It's just a pull by the government and imposing by the government. And depending on government money, government budget for supporting and providing incentives for the businesses and for the people to use renewable energy. But the government budget is limited. So I am proposing that in any society, in any market around the world, there's a very interesting change in the market. Many consumers are now looking for opportunities to share the responsibility of climate change. What I mean by that? In Korea, 48% of our Korean consumers say that they are willing to pay a higher price for green energy and green energy product because they are worried about climate change. Patagonia is an example, a big success. So consumers are looking for. So what I'm saying is that there's a great pool of consumers who are willing to make their own contribution. I call it personally determined contribution. And we need to encourage and nurture this kind of consumer behavior. And we can encourage a consumer movement, choosing, paying right price for renewable energy and the renewable energy product. So I call it Me First campaign. Me First means I should be the first to share the responsibility. Of course, I don't think that 100% of consumers will embrace this kind of ideas from the beginning. But I was very much encouraged by the governor of central bank saying that, don't worry, 5% of the consumer is enough to change the society. So I was very much encouraged. And I'd like to conclude by saying that then what can be the role of the central bank for this kind of exercise? Number one, it's not my idea, it's the idea of the central bank, the governor of Central Bank of Hungary. He said, maybe he's the only one in the governors of the central bank around the world. He said, long-term sustainability is the mandate, should be the mandate of central bank. Very interesting, right? No other central bank governors believe long-term sustainability is a job of or mandate of the central bank. So maybe you can learn from Hungarian experience. They have a huge program on it, so you can learn from it. My second point is that I would like to suggest that you can look into the proposal from Professor Stephanie Kelton, and actually Mark Uza know her very well, and he invited her to one of this kind of seminar. And what he proposed is that central bank or the government can play a direct role, not just monetary policy, but for financing, fiscal policy, to use the money directly, supply the money from the central bank directly, directing it to go to the green projects. So this is an idea that proposed by the Stephanie Kelton, but I don't have time to explain all about this. but I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Raekwon Chung. And now I'll turn to Mr. Mohanty because he has engagement at 4:15, so we have very short time for his presence. So you've pointed out that there will be huge job displacement due to AI, especially in developing countries, right? And the way to tackle this issue might be related to education system. So can you, in what ways should education systems adapt to adequately prepare for workers for an AI-augmented economy?
Okay. So the way I want to frame this response is that in a way that developing, I guess if I heard it correctly, you are talking about developing economy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think in a way AI is going to create relatively more opportunity for developing market because they can leapfrog a lot of existing processes and a transition path because AI is going to allow them to do that. So imagine that a lot of the emerging market which were trying to catch up on this whole digital transformation journey today suddenly are in a very interesting point of time where they don't need to replicate those same path which developed economy took to come to where they are today. They can simply leapfrog. By leapfrogging, which means they're going straight from the current state to a new state, which will take a lot of effort, lot of relearning and rewiring by the developed economies to get to the same point in the future. So one is leapfrogging. Now to leapfrog, learn, you got to focus on developing a talent pool which will learn how to leapfrog. And there are whole set of focus area when it comes to training the workforce in the world of AI. One thing is just to understand the toolkit of AI. The prompt engineering has become a huge part of knowledge work body to be created so that people know how to use AI, how to prompt AI to deliver some of the information it generates. Second, the new models of AI is creating a whole set of opportunity where some of the processes and some of the intermediary steps taken today we have to design an outcome is completely automated. With more automation in place, a lot of emerging market can go to a more advanced system with less complexity to deal with. On the training side further is that there's a need to also put a lot of emphasis on the role of ethics and role of ethics of developing the new AI tool. Because one thing with AI that the governance process to ensure their fair ethics and ethical, accountable and transparency is not that easy thing because it requires not only a human input in a way that you don't create biases. Also, the outcome of the softwares also have to have the same set of expectation. So focusing on ethics in the part of the training could be a key success factor for many of this emerging market as they prepare the workforce to leapfrog the existing system. So that's one, I would say, a pathway for a lot of emerging market to fully take advantage of AI so they can get faster into new designs. The second idea or suggestion I would have is to focus on developing stronger, well-governed public infrastructure, especially the digital public infrastructure, because trust will be a key factor to a lot of the system changes. Because you're going to trust systems, processes, and the AI itself as part of this new may not be.
Энэ шин дэд үтсийн нэгэн хэсэг болж орж ирнэ.
May create long-term challenges for this market. So focusing on trust, building well-governed public infrastructure could be a key for emerging market to leapfrog into new systems and processes which will increase productivity, hence can create a new opportunity. Lastly, changing business models. A lot of the existing business models are going through its own transformation. There'll be new products, there'll be new business models, there'll be new way of doing things. So helping this new workforce to build, design, deploy new business models should be part of the upskilling process. So that so this will allow again new line of businesses to be created, new jobs to be created. Hence, you'll find a whole new class of AI-defined jobs would be in the market, which is a very good news for the developing economies. The challenge in this space is always resources. Now, there are 2 or 3 resources critical for emerging market to build the future economy. One is computing resources, very expensive. There's a need to think about better and smarter models so it doesn't use a lot of computing resources. Second, understanding understanding the impact of something we don't talk today, or we're not talking today much, is the impact of the quantum computing. Because when quantum computing comes to the play, there'll be another set of significant change to the design of information systems globally, which means the existing encryption standards and existing encryption processes will be completely have to be redone, because today most of our systems are exposed to scams, hackers, which can cause unimaginable challenges to the future of digital systems. So with the quantum out there, perhaps 10 years from now or 15 years from now, I think there's a need for a pathway to understand how does quantum comes as a part of the understanding of the existing encryption, cybersecurity, and all the risk associated with this change. So maybe a focus on cybersecurity and the associated challenges could be another component for emerging market to focus on as they do the transition from the current economy to the new economy backed by AI. I think that's our broad stroke comment on how emerging market can look at the workforce upskilling as they look at the future of digital economy.
Thank you, Mr. Mohanty, and and I understood that you have a prior engagement. Yes. And let's give a round of applause to Mr. Mohanty for his participation. And
thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll continue with our panelists here. And let me ask Ms. Asya Kostanyan about the total productivity effect of AI. Because as Mr. Mohanty said, there will be huge job displacement, in particular in developing countries. And I think maybe the way to fill this gap in the reduction of labor demand comes from this increase in total productivity, right? So can you tell us about how will artificial intelligence and digitalization influence productivity and growth globally across advanced and developing economies?
Thank you very much for the question. So I will focus more on how AI technologies will increase productivity at central banks. But let me tell you first that we managed to increase the productivity of the monetary policy team even before we started, we introduced the AI tools. What I mean by this is, if in the previous framework, the policy round was from 40 to 45 days, since the implementation of this FPAS Mark II framework, it reduced to 28 days. So actually now in the Central Bank of Armenia, their round is 28 days. And what also was changed is, if before the monetary policy report was published a week after the policy decision, now all the reports, including the monetary policy report, the transparency report, and the chart packs and everything in Armenian and in English are produced at the same day as the policy decision. So that is a huge increase in the productivity. I also talked about the work-life balance. So how the team at the Central Bank of Armenia is this during 28 days on the the report and the whole process is working only 6 people. So we have 6 people teams, and we have 2 teams. So we have a development team and we have a policy team. So, and they rotate each round. So this gives people opportunity to be involved in the policy and also focus on their development afterwards. And now, when we are introducing these AI tools, we expect that the productivity of the teams will increase even more. So our estimate is that it will increase by 60%, as much as 60%. So how is it going to save time? It's going to help with the working with the data. So if before a lot of work was done manually, like getting the data from different sources, then putting them together, sharing it between each other, and then analyzing the data, creating the charts and so on. Now with the use of AI and the other digital tools, this whole process can be automated. So this is going to save a lot of time. So we have experienced before that using these technologies can actually increase the productivity and shorten the time of this whole process by 4 times, as much as 4 times. And another thing is the reporting, of course. Working with the text while they're doing the forecasting process is also very time consuming. And on the other hand, the AI tools are going to also reduce this time enormously. So, and when we're going to have these briefings, the voice summaries, so that's also for people who are just reading these reports and so on, they can just listen to it. And of course, it's going to save them a lot of time for reading these texts and so on. And so in total, it's going to be a very useful tool to increase the productivity and to improve the work-life balance, meaning that in our head we also have this idea of creating an AI assistant that's going to assist people during the process of their development and education. As well, so meaning that that's going to also facilitate this process of mentoring. So we will create, we want to create these AI tools that people who just start at the central banks or are interested in monetary policy can use these tools to get knowledge and so on. So this is a very good tool for making the knowledge more accessible to everyone. So unfortunately, a lot of people want to learn, they are motivated, interested, but they don't have the resources, they don't have access to these resources. So we believe that if we use the AI ethically, securely, and responsibly, it is going to increase the productivity of people, particularly working at the central banks. It is going to help their development, and it's going to improve their work-life balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good news because we have a case of central bank for productivity growth, right? So we hope that it will be also true for whole countries. And I would like to ask a question from my next question will be related to, again, AI, and I'll direct this question to Ms. Matilda Dimovska. And Mongolia has taken important steps toward becoming a digital nation. And what are the critical investments and policy choices needed now that Mongolians' AI and digital transformation inclusive and future ready?
Great question. I'm still with the key point that was one of your points that you were making, my former colleague from UNESCAP, about turning these shifts into opportunities. Many people find, yes, it's a cost. Green transition is costly. artificial intelligence, who knows fear, who knows what that will do to us. So instead of having having that approach, that perspective, it's extremely important to turn it around and to look it as an opportunity and look at opportunity together. And I think that's the key, would be determining how the pivot around that will be made for many countries, including Mongolia. Progress when it comes to the digitalization. It is now 46 in terms of globally, out of 90 something. I think when it comes to the e-government development, it advanced 11 places into the artificial intelligence readiness index. So these are very important progresses, developments. But even more important is that this transformation comes with for the real transformation in the life to come with that. It's important that these developments are leading to inclusiveness and are purpose driven. And in the case of Mongolia, that starts with deploying the artificial intelligence to, or making sure that the urban-rural divide is not widened by the artificial intelligence. 80% of the Mongolians in the urban areas are connected, but that does not mean the rest, and that's an important part of the society. So without equitable access to infrastructure to the herders throughout the country, they will not be able to benefit from the artificial intelligence. So therefore, the connectivity and access are important, of course, goes without saying. Now, how to do it? There are examples. India, for example, we hear about the Digital India initiative that connected around 600,000 villages with a very strong connection, and that set the basis for rural, for agriculture development. That may be something that to look further. The other is human capital and investment into the human capital. Mongolia, there are some assessments that say that Mongolia at the moment lacks 27,000 intelligence. It's not about IT specialists. But when we talk about the artificial intelligence, it's not about coders only, and not about ICT as well. It's about designers, it's about ethics, educators, domain experts, and many other professions that probably I don't know well enough to speak. And there are countries that have embedded artificial intelligence into their education system. Vietnam is an example. And how to embed it into different levels of the education system, to have a targeted studying graduate program. So you build the talent of a hub, you make the talent of the Mongolia a hub for with AI skills. It's extremely important. The other issue, third issue, is the enabling environment, and here comes the robust data governance, the cybersecurity threats. Mongolia is looking into that, but ethical AI frameworks that are missing at the moment very much, so that the inclusion, the fairness of the application of the AI is ensured, and the human rights, data privacy, and behavior digital is protected, is there. And then finally, it is about the purpose, and also there is the purpose for what do you deploy artificial intelligence. In the case of Mongolia, it's very clear. Climate change, for example, how you address the climate change, not in the various dimensions or implications of that to the health, to the air pollution, to the livestock management, that is a whole body of potential. The other is the health service, education, agriculture, and the key value chains of Mongolia. So, and then to turn to yes, in our case, I think nationally determined contributions is one thing. We all have a role. Yes, personally determined contributions are extremely important. But in the countries like Mongolia, we don't need much to persuade the clients. 30% of those herders that live into the rural areas are already living with the impact. They know that they have to change the pattern of behavior. The 30 other or more that lives into the GER areas and that have consequences of the air pollution, also they know that they need to transit to the green. So it's about policies, as you've said, systems, financing, and coordinating integrated approach. That's what UNDP is arguing for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And related to this, I think I have a question for Mr. Raekwon Chung. So you said consumer participation is crucial for green transition. And how do you see the education's role in this?
Yeah, I would like to once again emphasize that the essence of green transition is actually transformation of the market. In other words, the pricing. Because I've been proposing green growth idea in 2005, 20 years ago. And when I look back, still I think we are failing to realize the vision of green growth. Many government announced it, but it didn't last and not sustained, and it come and go. One of the main reasons why the green transition, nowadays we are using the word net zero, carbon neutrality, all these kind of the words are changing. But the essence is very simple. How can we pay for the carbon we are producing? That's the essence. So in order to make the current market system is a free market system where there is the cheapest price winning the market. And the fossil fuel is the cheapest. Then how can renewable energy can compete with the cheapest fuel? That's the dilemma. So the question is, then how can we internalize a carbon price into the market price? So I'm always arguing that we have to transform free market to sustainable market. Sustainable meaning the internalizing carbon pricing. But as I told you, this cannot happen without consumer acceptance. But I have some hope, silver lining of hope. Recently, as the climate disaster is getting more and more serious, the young generation around the world is getting more and more sensitive. And even consumers are more and more sensitive about the issue of climate change. And when I am giving lectures in Moscow, Budapest, and Tashkent, and Astana, okay, the young generation, they say that they are willing to pay higher price for climate change. And even not only consumers, even the businesses are willing to do it. Why? Because it is good for their marketing. For example, Coca-Cola. I had a meeting with the Coca-Cola in Tashkent. They said, oh, we are willing to pay double the price for electricity of renewable energy. Why? Because if we can say that Coca-Cola is carbon-free, we can win the competition in the market. Because young generation will drink Coca-Cola rather than Pepsi-Cola. So this is the way the market is changing. But not many people, not many businesses realize that this kind of change of the market, change of the preference of the consumers, and it is happening around the world. So this is from the downside, bottom-up approach, but at the same time, top-down, the government, like central bank, initiative for like ecological tax reform of internalizing carbon price into the market like through like a tax reform, meaning that we have to introduce carbon tax while reducing income tax. We don't have to charge a tax only on income. Why we are penalizing people working very hard to make their income? Rather, we should charge the penalty, which is a tax on those carbon emission rather than the hard work. So we can have a completely different tax system based on carbon emission rather than income generation. Because charging tax on income generation in a way is stupid, because we have to charge it to the carbon emission. So this is one way of changing free market system to sustainable market system. So there are many ways of doing it, but I don't have time. So I want to emphasize that. Education is also important, but young generation is already changing. In fact, young generation doesn't need the education. They already know it. When I ask my student, are you willing to pay for it? Almost 70–80% students are raising their hand. They say, oh, I'm ready to pay higher price for green energy and the green energy product. So this generation is already changing. Only the older generation have a fixed perception that we have to provide the cheapest products for our future generation. They are looking for the opportunity to share the responsibility. They are getting frustrated like Greta Thunberg. Why Greta Thunberg is frustrated? Because in the free market system, there is no opportunity that people like Greta Thunberg can make a choice for green energy choice, because the prices are same. So the essence, we have to have a price differentiation between green energy and the fossil energy, and the green product and the fossil energy product. There has to be a two price so that consumers can make a choice. So this kind of price differentiation is also very critical in giving the opportunity and choice for the consumers.
Okay, so let me thank this excellent panel and panelists for their great work and insightful remarks, and give them a round of applause, please.